One, two, three, four.
I don't think it's possible to plan your entire path out or to plan exactly how things are going to go in regards to creativity. I think with performance, with visual art, with any kind of like creative practice, a lot of times the mistakes and the risks are essential to finding your voice. And that's really not true with other, if you're a business person, you might look at risk completely differently than if you're a creative person. Things that come from risk can be the most important discoveries of your entire practice. At the time of like kind of post grad school, I was working retail, and I really got into thrifting. It was kind of the end of the golden age of thrifting. Like, I really think of the 90s being such good thrifting in terms of like a lot of grannies would be donating stuff from like the 60s and 70s, and it was really, really fun. I was really like, digging and finding stuff just as a fun thing on the side I would love to do. And I started finding all these macrame pamphlets, a lot of times in color, a lot of times with photographs, sometimes diagrams, but they would maybe be just like 4 to 10 pages, and they would have like a project. Like the classic one would be like the plant holder or the plant hanger. I really want to go rogue and go off script and do like my own thing. And so I started knotting all of these things. And through this, and I would say through this whole treasure trove of fiber artists, especially from the 60s and 70s, who did such amazing pieces that don't get their due within the art world, because fiber arts are a little bit more marginalized, because it is, craft is more marginalized, and then also it being a traditionally feminine medium, and also a lot of things relating to fiber, including like clothing that we wear, is just very undervalued. So my going off script of the tutorials led to me not only learning some of the basics there, but also finding my own aesthetic voice of like what I would like, what I didn't like. But when I came up with Sacred Knots, I was thinking about sacred as not in the literal way, but as in something we should place a lot of value on and think about, that is actually very ordinary, but it's something we don't uphold. It's kind of like, what do we take for granted? Often those things are the most essential things to our communities or our culture. To me, Sacred Knots was about knotting as one of the most primitive and most basic, both functional and art forms that exist in humanity around the world, because all you need is literally a vine, a piece of hair, a string, anything. So because the resource is so accessible and it comes so naturally to humans around the world who've created knotting practices for survival, whether that's like hunting, fishing, gathering purposes. It also had an extension into aesthetics, as people did pre-colonization. They were making very functional items beautiful. It wasn't the separation between, functional item and art. When you're doing something that feels fulfilling and you're working with your hands in a way that you can imagine your ancestors having done thousands of years ago, there's something that is deeply fulfilling on a very restful level about it. I think that when people extract art from the human, from the humanity, art from the community that it's from, that's when you have a real problem. And if I could sum up craft and practice to the most boiled down thing, it would be that think of the human behind the art or the design that you like, that you buy, and that you want to use for something. I do think a lot of people want to see more of the human behind the work, because there is so much beautiful stuff out there that's done unethically by machines, stolen designs, things like that. If you can show the human behind this work is grounded in their practice, it's something that people really connect to and trust.